What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the CP5 Project. Today, I have a very special guest. He is one of the co-founders of my favorite podcast that's out there right now called the Back of the House Podcast, and he goes by the name of Mr. Eric Rocha. We had a great conversation tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy. Mr. Eric Rocha, how are you doing today, brother?
Man, good. Doing good, getting better, my man.
Already?
Doing good, getting better.
All right, that's what I like to hear. So going into this podcast, man, so what made you guys want to start this stuff?
You know what, dude? It was, we all just started on July 4th this past year. We were like, hey, I was at Victor's house,
Right.
Victor, a.k.a. Chino, and he was like, man, we need to do something fun. We need to get together more often and this, that, and the other. And my other friend, Daniel, was there, which is the kind of the lead guy.
Right.
He was there also. We just came up with this idea to do a podcast, man. 2 weeks later, I thought it was just kind of one of those, yeah, let's do it, but never get it done type of deals,
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then next, we start a IM, a group text, and all I see is, well, there's microphones for sale and mixer for sale and that for sale, and that's how it just started, man. And then 1 week later after that, we put it together. And whenever we say the back of the house, it really is the back of a house. Like,
Right.
it's my buddy's storage shed, and we turned it in. Well, he more or less turned it into a to where it was comfortable and sitting and sit everybody, and we just kind of put our little touches on it here and there, but
It looks great,
it was all
man.
him. Yeah, it was all
great.
him. And I don't know if it was because his wife doesn't let him go nowhere, so he can't go too far. No, I'm joking. But no, man, it was a good spot, and the way it all kind of came together, and now we're about to be 20 episodes in.
Yeah, I've seen that, man. I've been whenever I started, I think about 8 episodes in, and then I went back and listened to the rest of it because, I had seen you post stuff on social media and all that stuff, and then listening to it, I knew a lot of the guys that like I know Ed Fawcett, and of course I know Noel, and I was like, oh, okay, these guys are like, I know these guys, and then listening to the stories. And it also helps the time pass, because I get kind of burned out sometimes with music every once in a while, like if I'm working. And it just, listening to it, it's like, damn, this episode's already over and it's been already 2 hours.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing that you said that, because, we started, I don't know who, well, you use obviously YouTube as your platform, right?
Right.
Well, we use BeanPod. Mm-hmm. And whenever we're looking at BeanPod, it kind of gives you statistics, like where you're at and when people start to listen, and kind of like demographics,
Right.
The age group that people start listening to you. And man, we were excited about 20 people downloading our stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're like, first of all, who wants to listen to our shit? Second of all, like it was like, I commend those people, man, because I mean those first, I would say 6 or even 8 episodes were like us really kind of figure out what we want to do with it, and for the most part, like I know 1 and 2, they were kind of like rambling, like we were rambling, but it still kind of flowed together pretty well.
Right. Yeah, I got a great chemistry going on.
Yeah, and that's what we get a lot of. I mean, it's funny the way that all 3 of us, I've known Daniel since I was in Head Start.
Mm-hmm.
Tia Hope, she lived in, that little school that was right behind her house on,
Right.
where I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's kind of where me and Daniel met, was there. And then, so I've known him since I was probably 4 years old,
Wow, yeah.
And so I kind of had my time with Daniel, and it got to a point to where I don't want to say we grew apart, but he went, junior high and high school. But we still talked, what I mean?
Yeah.
But we didn't hang out as much. And then him and Victor kind of had a time together, and they could kind of talk about their time together. And then after high school, me and Victor started hanging out, and we became like really close. And then so now it kind of made it a full circle, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people could sense that, and that's kind of what's funny is because I wanted to have one of those podcasts where like it's okay to say shit.
Yeah,
And
you don't want to be
wait, can I
censored.
say that here?
Maybe. I don't know if you want to read my shirt right there.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I wanted to have just like something real raw.
Yeah,
We talked
absolutely.
about not having nothing scripted. And so the first couple of episodes, man, they were long. And even when I go back and listen to them, I'm like, holy shit, that's rough. Once we started adding guests, everything started really kind of loosening up, and it was kind of like a training thing. I mean, the more episodes we did, the better I feel that we got.
Yeah, man, and y'all did. I really enjoy y'all stuff, like I said, and some of the guys that y'all had relationships with. Like I didn't know how well y'all knew T Fields and like even Ed Fawcett, because whenever I saw that caption when I was scrolling through y'all's channel, I was like, well, I know that guy. I've known him. He's real good friends with Lee Gander, who's my uncle. And
oh yeah.
So when I saw that, because I know him as Uncle Ed, because I've known him ever since I was really little. And
really?
Just listening to that story, it's like such a small world that, I guess it was Victor that knew Ed, right?
Yeah, they worked together.
Yeah, so I was just like, man, so I really enjoyed that. And that's when I started like listening more and more and more. And then one thing I wanted to ask you, because the guy that's pushing y'all stuff a lot is Zadrian.
Oh,
How do you know Zadrian? Because he's one of my good buddies.
Yeah, man. Zadrian, man, thank God for Zadrian. Zadrian's such a cool cat. I don't know him personally.
Right.
Actually, Victor and him actually know each other really, really well.
Oh, okay.
And I think they worked together for a little short stint, or they still do, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, and then whenever Zadrian started, like, he was like actually kind of like our first listener, you know, or our first avid listener, shall we say? Because I mean, like, he was commenting and just out of the blue, man, I started seeing him start to share more stuff. Yeah. And then so I think, and I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that Victor, he bought him a back of the house shirt, you know? Yeah. He was listening and sharing so much. And so, man, I can't thank Zadrian enough. I mean, because it only kind of starts like your YouTube channel, man. It only kind of starts just with that one person or maybe two, and then it starts to grow something. And now, now we got 110 downloads approximately per episode right now.
Right. Yeah. That's great, man. That's something cool. And he's always been a huge supporter, no matter what we do, because we're my group of friends, from my last guest that was on, there's about 8 of us that we're all in a group message, and we, talk shit about the playoffs, football. And then it was Zadrian. Like, I was just texting Zadrian about 20 minutes ago, he's just been that huge supporter there, and it's just kind of funny. Like, whenever I saw him sharing all that stuff, I was like, man, that's crazy. Cause you are one of my cousins, and I was just like, it
leads to one of those things that gets another small world.
Absolutely.
And but man, I can't thank Zadrian enough. So shout out Zadrian. Once again,
Mr. Zadrian McGee.
And you too, man. Thank you. I want to thank you too. I know you throw our stuff out there, and I try to do my due diligence with our podcast. Yeah. The reason why we kind of did this is that we talk about San Angelo a lot. You know. And I think San Angelo is kind of one of those towns that no one really thinks about. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't have too much going on here, but we got a lot of talent in our backyard, man.
And I'm glad y'all brought that to light, not only from like T Fields with his rapping and stuff, and then like Gabriel Winky with his art, and then y'all's last guest that y'all had on with music. That's pretty cool stuff that y'all are bringing light to San Angelo. What that town is like capable of doing.
Right, and what a good way to do it. We've I kind of commend us for just giving, like, we don't have, like I said, we don't have nothing scripted, but man, most of the guys, whenever I have an idea or they have an idea, I mean, we're open to it, and so that's kind of one of the things I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind me. I don't want to
bring it on.
interview you or whatnot, but like you going solo. I mean, now that you're pretty much everything. You're the
Mm.
editor, which
Yeah.
is in our field or in our deal that we have Daniel doing it. Victor brings a little spice to it,
Mhm.
whenever he brings some guests on and certain things. And I kind of bring, a little, I bring the publicity, I feel
Right.
like I
Yeah.
do that the most. But I mean, you're just doing it all by yourself. So how do you go about to like, this is the episode that I want to do, or I want to break down this film and whatnot? Was it all just about breaking down football for you?
Yeah, it was because of the main thing was I was kind of tired of going back and forth like on Facebook or other social medias with other players just about my opinion, because if it was during the game, then that mood might have changed because, I could say
Right.
like just for instance, Dak Prescott was having a bad game and be like, "Oh man, this guy's sucking, blah blah blah," and then he goes off for 3 touchdowns. And then
Yeah.
I was like, well, I wanted to build something that, in my opinion, that other people, I can get my point across. And then I brought the film along because I've invested myself in watching the film and
Yeah.
showing casual fan why certain things go the way they do, and why
Right.
my opinion on Dak Prescott. I know I was hard on him early in his career, but he's gotten better. So I wanted to show where he was getting better at.
I said it seemed like you kind of want to back up that you know what you're talking about, like your
Yeah, yeah,
talk. Like,
yeah, exactly.
so if
So
you say someone's trash, you're gonna be like, dude, this is why he's trash.
yeah, and I can go and show you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to do it for a couple years now. And then whenever the world shut down, I was just like, what do I do? Now I got plenty of time because what I do for a living, we got hurt pretty bad by COVID. So
Yeah.
I was like, man, what can I do now? And then just like y'all, I started, oh, that's for sale. This is for sale. And everything
Uh-huh.
from on my end on like the editing and everything like that's kind of like self-taught because I didn't know really a whole lot about anything. So
Right.
I went right to YouTube, just kind of looked up some stuff and see how to do this and that. And I'm still learning, a lot
Yeah.
of it because, I'm working on it for a few hours and I was like, oh, damn, that's a lot of stuff. And then,
Yeah.
finally I was just like, actually do a film, let's break it down and then go from there. So week by week, I was breaking down film, trying to get them out before, the next week started. And then now with the season being over for our Cowboys, I was just like, well, now I can start bringing guests on and then get involved in other sports, Not only that, I will expand to other things besides sports, but right now that's what I want to talk about. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Like I saw your last show and I was all like, was that your cousin?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Cody,
Okay.
that's Cody Pettis, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And whenever I was watching it, I was like, man, what a difference, because I saw your very first YouTube video, and
Right.
it was 18 minutes. How is it for you doing an hour and 25 or an hour? I think it was like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, that one because we spoke for quite a while, 2.5 hours or so,
Yeah.
and then
Uh-huh.
actually rewatching it and then editing and then adding this and that, and it took.
Right.
I was up till early mornings, doing this stuff, and it was a lot
Yeah.
of fun, and I enjoyed the guests. I enjoyed not just talking to myself on breaking down certain plays here and there.
Right.
So for
Yeah.
me it's a lot of fun. I want to keep having guests. That's why I reached out to you, sit down and talk, and then of course I want to get your stuff out there more as well, because
Yeah, man.
y'all guys are my favorite podcast to listen to right now. With us slow at work, I've kind of picked up little jobs here and there, that I do for my
Yeah.
father-in-law, and I'm painting the outside of a house right now, right? So I'm just painting, and I'm scrolling through because y'all hadn't put out this latest episode yet, and I was, what the hell do I listen to? I'm going through podcasts, and I see
Yeah.
like Joe Rogan, I listen to him, but then I'm just sitting there, it's like, man, it to me, I'm like, that shows me how much I like listening to y'all guys instead of
Dude. Yeah. Thank
Joe
you.
Rogan, other guys like that, because I think it's more of a what you would call an intimate feel to it because I know you guys, or I know you know what I mean, and then I know
Yeah.
some of the guys that y'all talk about or talk to.
Yeah, like one of the things that I like to talk about. I mean, even this, even get to see you is just kind of seeing your story.
Right.
Dude, I didn't know, like, to be honest with you, I didn't know you knew so much about football, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
how you broke down film and how you did it in like 18 minutes. I
Yeah.
was like, holy crap, dude. I was like, this guy knows his stuff, you know? So I know sports, but I'm
Mhm.
kind of like the talkative, me being in sales, I got to know a
Yeah.
little bit
Oh, yeah.
about everything,
Right.
And I was all like, man, so if someone goes into the level that you're at, I'm kind of
Mm.
like, nah, man, well, um, that wide receiver, I mean, he was great, or
Yeah.
whatever. But you get into detail with it, man. I've
Yeah.
been like super impressed,
Well, thank you. I
watching your
appreciate that.
stuff. And dude, I saw it, I was like, man, and this is what it's all about,
Yeah.
helping each other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think at the end of the day, that's how these podcasts grow, is because Joe Rogan, man, there's other podcasters on there that do their own stuff, but they
Yeah.
come on his show or he goes on
Right.
their show, and he picks up some of their listeners, and vice versa,
Yeah.
And I've been doing a lot of research on podcasts, like the media side of it, getting it out there. And this is the way to do it, man.
Yeah.
Like jumping on yours jumping on mine. And whenever I
Right.
had asked you to kind of be on it, I know the timing, and then you live so far away, and
Yeah.
we don't have a YouTube channel, so we're
Right.
not that far yet. When we get there, or whatnot, I would like to have you in the studio, because I mean this is what it's all about. You know
Yeah.
what I
It,
mean?
it, it was just a little scheduling conflict there, which was no big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah,
Whenever you asked me, I was super excited about that because, I was right
yeah,
in the middle of getting my videos out there,
right.
and I'm just like, man, that'd be really cool to do actually talk to other people and not just, it's not that I don't value other people's opinion whenever I'm doing my videos, but I like to listen, and just soak in information, because that's something I've always done, was ever since probably in middle school, is the details of why certain things work, especially
Yeah,
in the sports world. And having access to the film that I do, it's just like even better. It's just a perfect timing for me to do this, because it wasn't just like getting random highlights from YouTube. It's the actual game film, by
yeah.
every team and everything like that.
But it's just been so fun, just to see, um, like us grow, and then see the way you do certain things. Like, I've actually picked up on how you do certain things, and I'm kind of implementing it. I stole just the way that I saw that you were prepared.
Mm,
I started taking notes in my
yeah,
in my podcast,
yeah,
and then so like I'm all like, see, fucking Chris knows what he's talking about,
yeah,
and it's because you're by yourself. You don't.
yeah.
I could, like, sometimes I could lean on Daniel, or we could lean on Victor to say something,
Right.
but you, man, you're like a one man show, and
Well,
so I was all like,
that's the hard thing to do right there, because you're
yeah,
right. Like, I did want to
exactly,
come in prepared, knowing what's going on in this and that. But I do like to have a good time whenever I'm watching the game, because I did try
yeah,
to. I had my pen and notepad, and I was just like, all right, I got to remember this play, this and
yeah,
that. And then I'm just like, oh, fuck this. Like, I want to enjoy the game, so I enjoy the game, and then I come back and rewatch the coach's film on it, and then that's where I
yeah.
have the pen and paper.
And like I said, it's like I learn something from you every single time I watch it,
I
and
appreciate that.
so kind of like this, man. Like I'm not a big Dak
Mhm.
quarterback
Right.
lover. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. I just Tony Romo has like a very special place in my heart. And it's
Yeah.
very hard to see a quarterback come in and that's bigger and stronger, and it's got an arm like a freaking rocket,
You see
and they
that?
can run. It's hard to tackle, and he doesn't take over a game. That's like my biggest complaint about him. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And I'll go, with that Dak thing, because I was one of the biggest Romo supporters out there too, as well, because
Yeah.
I loved Romo, and he got a lot of shit over the years, as you know. And I was just like, nah, like, once the Cowboys start winning, you see all those people out there with the pink Romo jerseys on, and
Uh-huh.
all that stuff. And then when Dak came in, I'm just like, fuck, man, he's on a roll. I want Romo to come back. And then,
Mhm.
Romo retires, and Dak kind of, he didn't play well his first year and a half. And then he started
Yeah.
to pick it up. This year he was obviously on a tear, but that's because of this Dallas defense had a historically bad year, so
Right.
and it just kind of, there's so many variables going into this year, especially being a contract year, or him being under the
Yeah.
franchise tag, and I knew a lot of people didn't support him, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, in my opinion, it was the best option Dallas had to go forward with a quarterback, because you don't want to start over by drafting another quarterback, because then you got to build to his traits. You already know what Dak's abilities are, like what you just said. Strong arm, he can run. For the most part, he's tough, except it's hard to get over a broken ankle. That game, you saw him trying to shove that ankle back into place, and it's one of those things that's rough.
Oh, go ahead. Who Jones, number 31, that actually did that with his knee on the field, like his knee actually popped out. Byron Jones. He just popped his knee back in place and got back on the field and started running. Yeah. And whenever I saw him do that, man, whenever I saw Dak do that, I literally was like, what?
Yeah, I knew it was broke.
You can just tell, it was one of those injuries where you're like, like that ain't going back, bro. It ain't going back.
Yeah, and as soon as that happened, as soon as that play happened, I saw whenever he rolled over, I saw, I go, that shit's broken. And so that's why I typed automatically, so that shit's broken. And everybody wanted Andy Dalton. I was like, y'all motherfuckers got y'all's wish. Y'all got Andy Dalton. Let's see what he can do.
I was one of those guys, man.
Yeah. We saw that he didn't play too well. He had his moments, but he's not going to be back in Dallas this year just because he wants to test the market. So.
And that's what I was kind of saying for me with the Red Rocket, man. I even when he was in Cincinnati, like I've always liked him. And I don't know if it's because he's a Texas boy, and I kind of, I saw him play I saw him play a little bit in college, because we have Sports Southwest, here in Texas, and I don't know, it's kind of one of those deals that we watch all the time. Anyway, but yeah, man, he was kind of like one of those quarterbacks I like the way he doesn't hold the ball too much, and I think that's one of the things for me that Dak does so much is hold the ball. I mean, you got 4 seconds, back there, and sometimes 4 seconds is a long time.
It is, but that's the difference between Dak and Dalton. Dalton's getting the ball out because he's throwing to his first read, or he's already predetermined where he wants to throw the ball. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not. There was a film that I did with Dak whenever he played the Browns, and it was very, very late in the game. It was that one he threw the interception to Cooper, or he was throwing to Cooper, but it got picked off. That if he held the ball just a half second longer, he would have saw, I think it was Dalton Schultz in the back corner. Nobody was around him. Yeah. But Dalton to me, the only thing I was skeptical on him was that he had 9 years in Cincinnati. He didn't win a playoff game, and he had a pretty good squad over there. I didn't really think that he could lead this team the way everybody else did. But, there's so many, like I said, there's so many variables. The offensive line just being completely gone. He playing hurt for most of the year. So.
That was a tough part for the Dallas Cowboys, I think, this year was the offensive line, because that's kind of like our bread and butter, Yeah,
it was.
I've always joked about getting an offensive lineman in the first round, but I think, man, that's where we need to go.
I'm gonna do a mock draft whenever it comes closer to the draft. There's an offensive lineman, Rashawn Slater, I believe his name. I think Dallas should go after him, to replace, the great Tyron Smith. He's getting old, and he's not as dominant as he was, but still to beef up that offensive line would be pretty awesome.
I just to see the defensive the offensive line just get depleted this year was just completely heartbreaking, And once again, I was going to say that I used to hate drafting offensive linemen in the first round. Always used to hate it. Whenever we got Mike Williams in the high teens, and
Connor Williams.
Zach, what's that?
Connor Williams.
Yeah, and all those guys. I was all like, man, and I always have this one name that's always in my pocket, but it still kind of remains true. But it's like, whenever you wanted an Xbox for Christmas, you got socks.
You know
what I mean? Right there was like one of my favorite all-time memes when it was drafting Zach Martin. Whenever it came out.
Because it was either Zach Martin or Johnny Manziel.
Yeah,
that's what it was at that point. And it's not the sexy pick like CeeDee Lamb last year. That was the sexy pick right there. That's what everybody wanted, and he played really well. And he can get better because he had, I think, like 8 drops this year, at least. Yeah. And so he can get better. going forward, you know, yeah, you don't want to pick those offensive line in the first round, but sometimes you have to.
I was like, man, I'm okay with it now. I'm okay.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
okay with you guys picking up an offensive lineman if he's big enough and whatnot. But
yeah,
the Dallas do they? And I'm going to ask you because I kind of had a little trouble remembering who it was in the last episode. I think we talked about it at the Back of the House podcast episode, but there was a Mexican offensive lineman drafted this year by the Dallas Cowboys. Was it there?
Isaac, I can't pronounce his last name. It's like Alacron or something like that. I could be wrong on his
Yeah,
last name, but yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He's from Mexico and really excited player actually because he's a very big dude, you know. And
Yeah.
I think with international draft picks like he was, I don't know exactly where he was drafted or drafted out. Or anyways, he was signed to the Cowboys, but he had to sit a year out for whatever reason. But I think he should be at least allowed to be on the practice squad this year. And then with that being,
Yeah.
you know, if you're on the practice squad, then you are eligible to be signed to the active roster. You know, it's
Right.
almost similar to like what the Ravens did with Des Bryant. They put him on the practice squad so he can practice with Lamar Jackson and stuff like that. And then I think like 2 weeks later is whenever they actually signed him to the active roster. Whenever you're on the practice squad, you're allowed to, you know, practice with the
Yeah.
team, you know, instead of just outside working, you know, stuff outside workouts. But he's somebody that I haven't really looked up on yet because you know, it's kind of one of those out of sight, out of mind type of deals.
Right.
You know, I'm glad you brought him up because I totally forgot about him. But what
Yeah.
I had read on him whenever he was brought on to Dallas was that he could be, you know, showing up this year. As far, you know, who knows how long, you know, Lyle Collins is going to stay healthy.
Right.
Zach Martin.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Yeah.
going to be really fun. I'm going to write that down actually because that's something I want to go and look into.
Yeah, I mean, like I hear like he's not just a scrub either.
No.
I did a little reading up on him either also, and I was like really impressed the way they got him. And he wasn't. I don't think that he was. I think they got him like after the draft was over, as a free agent type of deal.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. So.
Guy, they kind of think of him like a Munoz from the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's kind of really exciting to see because. Yeah, because I mean he's real versatile. I mean he gets up the field quickly. I mean he's got the speed, and he's not a big. I mean not fat, but I mean this guy could hold his own. You know?
Yeah.
So
you know, and that's one thing nowadays you want in your offensive lineman is not only to be big but athletic. You know,
right.
The difference between like Travis Frederick, you know, their center that retired last year, and James Looney, the guy that came in, and then after Looney got hurt. That rookie that they had, I can't even remember how to say his last name right. You could tell the athleticism, the difference between the two, because Joe Looney, he knew the position, he knew the offense, so he was like, okay, he's good enough right now. But then when that rookie came, you could tell like he was able to get up to that second level blocking, he was able to pull around, he was able to set up screens, and so that rookie, he's something exciting to look forward to. I guess
really
this year. So
because now that man, you've kind of got me into like breaking down film now, or kind of actually knowing a little bit about who's stunting and who's not. But been looking at the game a little differently this past couple of like I think like last month, whenever I really started looking into your stuff and really getting into it, I was like, man, like he's right.
Yeah.
Like look at it.
Yeah, it's just you'll start noticing when you start watching games, like if you're going to watch playoff games, you'll start noticing different things that you weren't as a casual fan. You know, a lot of people are just sitting there watching the ball, you know, while it's in the air or whatever. You know, I just always caught myself looking at, you know, well, what was this guy doing over here? Or, you know, what was Zeke doing over here? Or what was Amari Cooper doing over there? You know, it just kind of I got myself into the habit of doing that. Flags thrown on the play, I could tell you the penalty, what happened already. You know, it's like, oh, that's holding right there, or you know, you know, illegal formation or whatever it could be, because it's just something that it's like muscle memory almost, because like you line up, and then you know Dallas was so predictable in their play calling that I was like, oh, it's gonna be a run to the left. You know, now if I know that, I damn sure know that defense knows that. You know, so
Yeah.
kind of crazy because I'm sitting there, it's like, oh, well, usually whenever they move short motion, you know, behind the tight end, it's gonna be a run to the opposite side, you know, and it just
Right.
stuff like that. And she's like, how do you know that? And it's like, well, you know, they keep doing the same shit over and over. Why do you think Zeke can only get a yard or two? Because everybody knows the damn
Right.
play. You know, it's like it's frustrating. And then I put, you know, a lot of my videos were on defense because it was the same shit on defense.
Uh-huh.
You know, who's blowing this assignment or that guy's out of
Yeah,
position.
I saw you like cap on Jalen Smith the
Yeah,
last one. I was like,
he was the worst this year.
you were like, he was trash, and I was like laughing. I was like, man, I was like, that is tough love right there.
Yeah,
That's
I think
tough
the only
love.
guy that actually played worse than him was Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
You know, like I went really hard on Carson Wentz, and everybody's like, "Nah, bro, he's legit." I said, no, and then of course a few weeks later he gets benched, and I was like, "Bro, I tried to fucking tell you." You know, I tried to tell you.
Yeah, where do you think we go with like Dak this year? Do you think we give him? Do you think we sign him to? I mean, I know that you guys feel, or you know, some people, well, a lot of people out there that feel that Dak needs the go ahead and sign him to this huge contract. You know.
Yeah,
But do you think that's necessarily that he gets it all?
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
Like my opinion on this, and this is. I'm gonna change that. It wasn't my opinion. This is everything that I've gathered from reading articles. You know,
Right.
Is that he's gonna get paid?
Do you think the full amount?
Yes.
Do you think he's Patrick Mahomes?
No,
Type of quarterback?
that is one guy that everybody needs to realize. That guy's in a league in his own. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, like, does he get paid like him?
no,
you know?
he won't. In my opinion, I don't think he'll get that high. I don't think he's $500,000 or $500 million. He's gonna get paid probably $42 million a year.
And you know, I'm not mad at that. You know what I mean? I was just upset that, man, those high 30s last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever he was like all about the high 30s, like I want to be. What was it, like 38?
Yeah,
38
somewhere around there.
million?
But one thing that he's what people also don't realize is that whenever you talk contracts, these guys are also banking on the fourth and fifth year. You know, that's why he wants his annual salary to be so high, because in 3 years, $40 or $40 million a year ain't gonna be shit. You know what I mean? Because Lamar Jackson still has to get paid. You know, so those guys, like, that market goes up every year. That's why you always hear like Matthew Stafford breaking the record for highest paid quarterback, or Aaron Rodgers. You know, Aaron Rodgers is probably deserving, but you know, Matt Stafford still hasn't won a playoff game either. You know,
but it's just so funny how the scale for everything just gets more and more and more.
The salary cap goes up, and there's new TV deals that happen around the league. You know, it just, not only you got to play football, you got to realize, you know, what the market's at. And so I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. Oh, he's not worth that much money, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's fine. I get it. But he's also a quarterback in the National Football League, so he wants to get his cut as well.
Dak Prescott has the second most important job in the world, you know, behind the president. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that.
That's how everybody,
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said it. I mean, anybody that takes that quarterback spot for the Dallas Cowboys is automatically like a number 2 guy, you know, in the world. Not necessarily like in the NFL, not anywhere. And that's how come it's still America's team, man. So whoever hates the fucking Dallas Cowboys, fuck you guys.
But they're still watching.
America's team.
They're still watching. They're still watching.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, they are.
You know,
even ESPN in the summertime, they're still talking about the Dallas Cowboys.
I hope this deal gets done. You know, that way we're done with it. Everybody's going to argue about it for a month, and then it's going to go away.
Yeah.
You know,
Dallas, and then they'll bring up something else about the Dallas Cowboys. Like,
you know, and especially the fans.
Always, they're always in someone's mouth. I don't care if you love them or you hate them or you're just you're talking about the fucking Dallas Cowboys. As long as they're still doing that, they're still America's team. Because I don't hear a lot of things going in for the Patriots. You know, a lot. You know, they've been brought up, but just over the past 20 years they've been talked about like this. Only
they went
because of the bandwagon
back.
jumpers. You
Yeah,
know what I
they'll
mean?
win the Super Bowl, and then they're
Yeah,
back to talking about the Dallas Cowboys.
yeah, yeah.
You
I hate it when people are like, the Dallas Cowboys are no longer America's team. Fuck you. Yeah, they are.
they still will be.
Yeah, they are.
They're worth over what $5 billion or something. So
Yeah, me and a buddy were talking about it, and they're like, I think the number 5 or they're actually number one franchise in the world.
yeah,
And then as far as revenue and stuff like that, they're like number 5. And that's
Yeah.
because they hold soccer to a higher level in Europe. You know, and there's a lot more people in Europe than opposed to the United States. I think. You know, I think that's the reason why they're number 1 and number 2 is like Real Madrid and I can't remember the other one. I'm not real big into soccer, but it's not real football. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking, soccer fans.
Yeah. I would like to have you back on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So who's gonna win the Super Bowl this year?
Man, I think it's going to be someone retarded. After that Browns win over the Steelers, you know what? I think the Browns to win 1 or 2 more games. Believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I believe it. That's
I think they got hot. I think they win one more game.
They're playing Kansas City this week.
You know, it wouldn't even surprise me if they win. You know, because they're playing that well, or they played that well last week. Yeah. And against the Steelers, I know the Steelers kind of had like one of those up and down, you know, seasons, but they played a bunch of shitty teams, you know. Yeah. I don't think they played anybody at their full strength to get where their record was, but
right.
I don't know, man.
I thought the Steelers were a little bit overrated, and then I believe that there was 2 teams that can compete with Kansas City, and that was Green Bay. And then I think that the Browns have the right formula to beat Kansas City because of their ability to run the football. You know, not to say that Kansas City can't score, but they can't score when they don't have the football. You know, so whenever Cleveland's ability to run the football, I think that's going to hurt Kansas City a little bit.
Chubb was running the ball really well last week.
Yeah, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they got a good, really, really solid 1-2 punch, and then that offensive line for Cleveland is really good. So I think if they can hold Kansas City to fucking 30, I think they got a sure shot to win because Kansas
I'm not mad at that.
They're gonna get their points. They're gonna score because you can barely slow them down. So it just Mahomes has this. This is why he's in a league of his own. He's able to turn it on when he wants to. So I was like,
I second that.
So you going into 4 minutes left in the first half, and those guys want to score a touchdown. They're gonna score a touchdown. You know.
Right.
In the second half, they're down by say 10. That lead's not safe because they can flip it on a dime. You know, and that defense is really underrated. You know, they're good up front, and then they have a pretty good secondary led by Tyrann Mathieu, the honey badger. Like those guys are they're ball hawking. They can turn the ball over to the offense, and then that offense, once they get that ball back, you know, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, you know, Sammy Watkins, those guys, Travis Kelce, they're really good. Yeah. I think if you can hold them to only 30 points, and that's a lot in the NFL, but if somehow Cleveland can pull something out, probably like 35-30, I think.
To answer your question, the longest way to answer your question, it would be Green Bay and Kansas City.
Yeah. Those were my picks to go to the Super Bowl, and I think Green Bay would win it just because of the way Aaron Rodgers is playing right now. Because Rodgers is, I something that popped up in my Facebook memories was I posted something a couple years ago that was I'm very irritated on how good Aaron Rodgers is. You know, and I posted that and I was like, wow, he's not even playing. Like he's playing better now than he was a couple years ago, you know. And I'm not sure exactly. I've only looked at a couple Green Bay games. He threw for over 40 touchdowns, and I think he only had like 4 interceptions. So Aaron Rodgers doesn't turn the ball over, and he's probably the best thrower of the football that I've seen. So
You know, I fucking hate Aaron Rodgers, man.
me too.
There's three quarterbacks I fucking hate. Is Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and now Patrick Mahomes is now fallen to a hard number 3.
I live in Lubbock, and that's all I see is local commercials of Patrick Mahomes on TV.
Yeah.
You know,
The thing that pisses me off though is because they make it look so fucking effortless. Seen a quarterback throw on the back of his foot, on his back leg, as much as Aaron Rodgers does on like a fadeaway.
yeah,
You know, he's on his back leg, going backwards, and he's still able to throw it 60 yards and make a completion. You know,
yeah,
Russell Wilson, it almost looks like you're watching a Madden game. Like, you know those stupid floaters,
Yeah.
you know, that you throw in Madden, and it's just kind of like, oh, dude, no one's gonna catch it. No one's not even there within 10 yards.
Yeah.
And then there somehow your receivers there. You know what I mean? And then Patrick Mahomes, man, he could throw it on any angle, like over the head, underhand, a sidearm, shovel pass. I mean, he's completing them all.
It's on the level of ridiculous on how all three of those guys you just said, because those are the three best deep ball throwers in this league.
Yeah.
So we'll see on how good Kansas City is whenever they're gonna lose some guys. They're gonna lose, you know, some guys that they can't afford anymore. You know, the offensive line, you know, whatever, or just like every team does. Now, unless they can run their organization like what the Patriots do, if they win it this year, it's hard to see them win 2 or 3 more down the road just because of, you know, the contracts. We'll see how good they are in the front office as far as signing guys.
And it always happens every year. You know, the free agent bug always lives, and these people that they're gonna have or they think they're gonna keep forever end up leaving. Like Kelsey, golly, I didn't know how good of a tight end he was up until they did a little NFL outtake on him where they mic'd him up.
Right. Yeah.
And man, I was like really impressed by him. I was like, stud, you know. I think
it pisses you off, doesn't it? It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like, how you a good guy and really good at football? Fuck you.
yeah. Like, where do those two fucking match? Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the another things that I was gonna say is Aaron Rodgers, man. If there's a fucking minute or 2 minutes, that is way too much time.
Too much, yeah.
And it never fails, dude. Those games that he's down by 3 or down by 6, that's fucking Aaron Rodgers right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he's really kind of spoiled me into the sense of that. I think that's where Dak should be. You know what I mean? I really do believe that he has that kind of talent, and it's just that much bigger, like that Vincent Young type of. You could give him the ball and take over the game. You know what I mean? That's where I think that he should be, but he's not. And I don't know if he's ever going to be there. And I think that's how come I'm just all like, oh man, I didn't know.
You know what's hard too for Dallas fans to hear is that you don't have to have an elite quarterback to win in this league. So Dak is not obviously in the same tier as Rodgers or Mahomes, but he doesn't have to be. Find other ways to win. You know, you want to run the football, want to play really, really, really good defense. You know, there's other formulas to winning in the National Football League.
Right, and that's where I think that we're lacking as far as if we're going to go back to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry, because I'm the one that did it. The offensive line is just where we need to get going, and I think that's where we should go back to that, because even back to the Big Tuna days, you know. That's how we drafted Tyron Smith, and we were getting there. That's how the line was really starting to become, you know, the biggest deal in football.
You know, coaching has a lot to do with it because, you know, Dallas year in, year out has a top 5 roster. You know, they just can't seem to put it together. And that's where I blame coaching, you know, because you bring up the Big Tuna. You know, this guy took Quincy Carter to the playoffs. Yeah. You know, and it's just, it's things like that. Like one of my favorite quotes for him is, I'm cooking dinner, at least let me shop for the groceries. You know, so he wanted his players, and he was able to bring some guys in. Might not have been in who he wanted, but I mean, shit, he's the one that also took a chance on Tony Romo. So, you know, he had Bledsoe, and then Bledsoe went down, and then that's when old Romo comes in. And then it's one of those full circle things because, you know, Romo goes down, and then here Dak attack. Prescott and stuff like that.
How do you feel about the new defensive coordinator coming in from
Um,
Atlanta?
I think it's gonna help out a lot because one, you can't get any worse than we were last year. But also, he's the one that helped to build the Legion of Boom in Seattle.
Uh-huh.
And so, whenever he was in Seattle, he obviously built himself a great defense. That's why I got a head coaching job in Atlanta. But coming into Dallas, he's able to focus just on the defense. Mike Nolan was kind of stuck in no man's land a little bit because he wanted to run a 3-4 defense. You need a certain personnel to run that type of defense. Dallas wasn't built for that yet. I'm sure he was
Right.
Mike Nolan was like, all right, maybe I'll be able to draft some of my guys in this upcoming draft. Maybe I'll get some free agents that I want to play on this defense. But, he was just so historically bad that, all right, man, like, sorry, you got to get out of town.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn from Atlanta, and let
Yeah.
him work his magic because he did have a really, really, really good defense in Seattle. People will bring up his resume with the Falcons, blowing that 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, blowing the lead against Dallas this year. You can't give him a lot of blame there because it's not his job. His job was just to be the head coach.
Right.
And it sounds funny to say that, but he didn't. What I've read, everything on him is that he didn't have a hand in that defense. He was just overseeing everything, kind of like what Mike McCarthy's doing in Dallas right now. He's kind of letting Kellen Moore do his thing. He let Mike Nolan do his thing. And, Dan Quinn, I think he's a player's coach. Guys want to play for him because they know what he can do. And I'll always revert back to Seattle on that conversation just because that was a dominant defense, so.
Well, he also had a little help from Chris Richard also, right?
Yes, I saw some things about, bringing, why not keep Chris Richard in? But the thing is, some coaches are better than others, even if it is the same scheme, because what Richard wanted to do was the same scheme that Dan Quinn ran. Dan Quinn was more of a sit you down type of guy, like, this is what we expect from you. Let's do this. Let's work on getting you better. When Chris Richard was just, kind of just yelling at you all the time. Now you kind of want both, you don't want, the guy that's just going to sugarcoat everything, or you want a guy that's going to, chew your ass because, you're two steps away from where you're supposed to be, so it's one of those things. I think the experiment with Richard was done with. I'm going to try Dan Quinn because he was the mastermind of getting this defense in Seattle together, but that defense was really built by Gus Bradley, who just got signed somewhere. I can't remember where he is, but still at the same time, we'll give Dan Quinn a shot and see if he can make this defense at least slow the other team to, not 40 points a game.
I was all like, did they even interview anybody else, or did they already have an idea of where they wanted to go? Because
to me, it was very similar to what the Texas Longhorns did whenever they fired Tom Herman.
Yeah.
Like, they just kind of fired him out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, I hope they got a big fish on the line already, because you just don't fire a guy like that without having somebody already lined up. So I think it's similar to that. They were like, okay, we'll fire Mike Nolan, but we got our eyes on Dan Quinn, and we'll go get.
It just seemed way too quick. It just seemed like a divorce gone wrong, and then you go fall in love with that one perfect person. You're like, holy shit, like, what just happened? So I was kind of like in a world of emotion this morning when I saw Dallas Cowboy web page, because that's kind of my thing. I kind of, in the mornings or in the afternoon, if even now, stuff will pop up on my feed about Dallas Cowboys, but I would go on their website to see kind of what's going on and see who's leaving and whatnot. And when I saw Dan Quinn this morning, I was kind of like in a love-hate type of deal. I was like, why? And then, you get back to rationality and you're like, well, maybe this might work out. Maybe this, the defense fits him a little bit better with the people that we have right now. Considering that we have young cornerbacks right now, great linebacker core for the meantime, without killing Jalen Smith. But but I think that they're kind of coming into their own as a cornerback group. Now we just got to really concentrate on the defensive line. That's kind of my thought on it.
Yeah. I mean, you're on the right track because that interior defense was not very good. At the same time, you had a guy in Dontari Poe he's a big guy anyways, but I think he was weighing around 380.
Yeah, he
You know,
came
that's
in
not.
overweight.
Yeah, and he was, I
And
think,
how did he do that?
and when he was really good in Kansas City, he was at like 340. You know, so he was
Yeah,
still a big guy, but he was just overweight, and he got pushed around a lot. Ripping him out of town, and then Everson Griffin, who was probably too old. You know, giving these younger guys some more playing time helped. You know, and then playing
yeah,
shitty ass teams like Cincinnati and San Francisco, that kind of helped
right.
boost
Brown,
the
maybe.
morale. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, going into it, man, I was all like, dude, 2019 is one of those fucked up years, anyways. I'm predicting the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
just every year, the Cowboys
yeah.
fan in me just I'm like, yeah, the Cowboys are gonna win the Super Bowl.
It's our year, bro.
Yeah,
It's our
every year.
year.
Just
Yeah.
like I said, we're talked about it during ESPN. It doesn't matter. Year in, year out. Where do you think the Cowboys are gonna land? They're always in the top 5 seed. Like
Yeah.
top 16s.
Yeah.
So I don't
So
know. It's
I
kind of
bet
one
you
of those
going
years.
into this next year, you know, the power rankings are going to be Dallas is probably going to be top 5, you know, and
I was thinking like top 10, top 12, right in
yeah,
that, and like the worst case 12 spot.
yeah.
If you look at the roster, I mean, shit, it's there.
It
It's
should
like,
be. You know,
yeah,
it's there on paper, but obviously you don't play on paper. You play on the field. These guys have been disappointing us since, you know, the mid
yeah,
90s, but hey, we're still here.
exactly.
We're still loud and proud, and we deserve some of the criticism, but yeah.
Quick question though.
What's
Yeah,
up?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, right? Blake Jarwin and Schultz on the
Mhm.
same field. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, I think that's gonna be a freaking big deal next year.
You're 100% right because Dallas runs a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, which means one running back. The one, like in 11 personnel, would be one running back, one tight end. 12
Right.
personnel is one running back, two tight ends. So that second number is the amount of tight ends. So Dallas ran a
No.
lot of 12 and 13 personnel. With Blake Jarwin coming back, that's going to be a deadly thing because then you got the trio in Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup, and you got Jarwin and Schultz out there. You know, and
Yeah.
you could always take one of those receivers out and put both tight ends in there.
You just fired me up. We're winning Super Bowl next year. We're winning Super Bowl.
I can't wait going into this year. I'm gonna gas all you up.
No, dude, I'm getting excited right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go Super Bowl, baby.
So
2021.
so yeah, I see a lot of Cooper, Gallup in, and then you'll have Schultz and Jarwin in, and then you'll have Zeke
Yeah.
in the backfield. And then you don't know what to do as a defense. You know, are they going to run the football?
Yeah.
Because both Schultz really kind of struggled a little bit in run blocking, but that's to be expected because he didn't get a lot of playing time. The only good thing to come out of this year with a lot of young guys playing was that builds your depth. You build experience because these guys were forced
Uh-huh.
into playing. With Schultz
Right.
coming and doing a really, really good job, Jarwin coming back, Jarwin's already a good run blocker, and we see what he could do pass catching. It's going to be
Yeah.
exciting. The tight ends, I think, are locked up.
I'm like I was like, whenever I saw Schultz kind of come into his own this past 4 games, I was like, dude, this cat is like a freaking second stringer, third stringer at one point. That leaves a lot of depth. And, coming from a Jason Witten era, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
one thing
bulked it
on
up.
that was that Jason Witten, we got kind of force fed on him because, you know, he's tight with Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett. But
Right.
now
Uh-huh.
we see what athletic tight ends can do instead of just catching a 5-yard hitch and then falling down. See the broken tackles that Schultz did, you know. He'd catch the
Yeah.
ball,
Yeah.
he would actually make a guy miss or break that tackle, and he's gaining
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10 yards instead of catching it, and Jason Witten just kind of like slowly falls.
I always called him the Redwood. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
always called him
yeah,
the Redwood because, I mean, he'd always fall forward,
yeah.
and the most slowest guy in the whole wide world. But that just, I don't know if you saw that deal on ESPN. I think it was Michael Irvin that said that you don't need to be fast in the NFL.
Yeah.
Prove that point was Jason Witten. I mean,
Yeah.
Jason Witten had that Peyton Manning speed, but
Yeah.
always found a way to get open.
Yeah, that's
know-
what you banked on because he made the right decision in his route running, and then if
Right.
you threw it to him, it was probably 9 out of 10 times he's catching it. Sucked though because you need 12 yards and he catches it at 10,
and then he
That's
falls forward.
for 11, and then you're a yard short. One of the most frustrating things to see, but hey, we like I said, we got force fed Jason Witten for
Yeah.
probably
You know what?
too long.
I'm gonna blame the whole Jason Witten force fed thing was because of the helmet popped off. Man, that's when everyone just jizzed in their pants and it was just all like, "That's my guy," because that's what happened to me. That was my guy. I don't care what anybody does. I kind of go through these phases where I fall in love with a cowboy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, okay, well, let me ask you this, and we always ask it on our show, and this is one of my favorite questions because I wait for someone to say what Mr. Fawcett did. Is who's your favorite cowboy?
John Wayne. I know that's what he said, right?
Yeah.
I laugh so hard because everybody's like, Dallas Cowboy or like real cowboy? Yeah. Current or
No, any of all time.
all time. That's a tough one. I would say to me it would be Darren Woodson.
You know, I'm not mad at that at all.
The
I'm
reason
not mad at
why
all.
is because he was when I started playing middle school football, I wore number 28 because of him. You know, because
All right.
and it just happened to be the position they put me in when they're like telling me, all right, you're gonna be a lineman, you're the quarterback, you're the running back, you're the defensive end, and they pointed at me and they're like, safety. I was like, cool. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, who plays safety for the Cowboys? Darren Woodson.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really have a super favorite run. Like I like Tony Romo, Darren Woodson, guys that I know Romo did, but like Darren Woodson, he didn't get all the glitz and glamour of, like Emmett and Troy and
Exactly.
Michael Irvin. So, but he was that guy that, he was that enforcer. He was that safety that would knock your head off, similar to what Roy Williams did, because Roy Williams couldn't cover shit in the NFL, but hey, you didn't run across the middle. So that's my answer on that, besides,
Dude.
John Wayne.
For me, though, it was Bill Bates.
Yeah, okay.
Bill Bates for me was kind of like my guy. I don't know why, dude. I mean, like, I just remember when I was little, like and I don't know if it was because of my dad. My dad was a big Dallas Cowboy fan, and he'd be like, "Look at that guy right there. Look at that guy on special teams, and look how hard he's always running." And I kind of that whole he never quits type of deal.
Right.
I mean, who goes to the Pro Bowl and they make a special spot for you? You know what I mean?
Bill Bates.
I mean, so that to me was just like, oh my God, like that is my guy. And so I'm gonna tell you a funny Dallas Cowboy moment. So I used to work at a car dealership and working at Ford, and they were like, hey, let's whoever sells so many cars, blah blah blah, first top 8, I think, or top 10, go to the Dallas Cowboy game, and whatever, And then so I started looking at the schedule, and I was like, oh, who are we playing? Okay, we're playing the Houston Texans. Okay, great. And the thing was that they're like, oh, we're going to go to a Fishbone Cafe, which is across the stadium, right?
Yeah, I've been
And
there.
they're saying, yeah. So they're like, okay, so Bill Bates is having a meet and greet there. And I was like, God damn, I gotta go. That was my inspiration on going. Got to meet him and everything, and it was like, I felt like a giddy little girl. Like,
was he a nice guy?
Bill Bates, huh?
Was he a nice guy?
Yeah, dude, super nice guy.
That's awesome.
Super nice guy. Yeah, so it kind of made that moment a little bit better.
When I asked that if Bill Bates was a dick or not, it was because my cousin that was on last time, Cody, his brother-in-law played football at West Texas A&M. Well, their quarterback got drafted by the Cowboys, and Romo was still on the team. I remember him telling us, like, hey, how's Tony Romo, being in the same quarterback room as him.
Yeah.
Like, well, he was nice. Like he helped me do this or that. And I think this quarterback was, I don't remember if I think he was on the active roster for a few games or so, but he was still there, with Romo.
Yeah.
And that was my, like, I wanted to know, like, how was Tony Romo? Did you get to smell him or something?
Yeah.
Something weird like that. But then he said that DeMarco Murray was kind of a dick.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
He didn't talk to nobody that wasn't, Des Bryant or Jason Witten. He was just kind of a fucking dick. And that kind of changed
Fuck that guy.
just a little bit my opinion on DeMarco Murray, because he had just ran for fucking 1,600 yards or whatever it was.
He should have stayed.
I saw him. I went to a UFC fight in Dallas. They fought at the American Airlines Center, where the Mavericks play. So my buddy, he got us some badass tickets. We had a suite. It was really cool. And then sitting front row was DeMarco Murray, and he had just signed with the Eagles like the week before. So they put him up on the Jumbotron there in Dallas, Texas, and he got all the boos. Bro, I've never heard boos like that, just kind of raining in. And he was just like, everybody's like, fuck you, especially for signing with the Eagles out of all people.
I know. And at that time, he literally could have gone anywhere. I mean,
yeah, he could have. I think the Eagles just threw him a bunch of money because Dallas couldn't afford him anymore. That was funny. Like your opinions kind of change on athletes, whether or not you've heard them being a dick or being an asshole to somebody. And the only one that I thought was funny was Demarcus Lawrence. They played the Giants or whatever, and he's coming out, and this little kid wearing a Giants jersey. He's like, "Can I have an autograph?" And he's like, "No, you got the wrong jersey on, kid." And he kept walking out.
Yeah.
Now, fuck them kids. Is what it was.
Yeah, I don't care. And, let my kids pop around the corner. I'll say fuck them kids. I once went to a game, and I've been at like a handful of games, and I see these little kids with fucking the other team's jerseys on it, and I'll kick a kid, bro. I'm not scared to.
Oh shit. We're the same size. Well, I'm the same size as them kids, so they're not gonna look at me funny.
Exactly. I'm gonna say, hey, I got a primo that's your size, bro. I'll kick your ass real quick.
Yeah, I'll kick him in the chest like you kick in doors.
Yeah,
right there in the chest.
300 his ass.
Hell yeah.
So my other story I had, man, my uncle, he's the sheriff in Baxter County, right?
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, Eric, I got these bracelets, and then they're to go to the Militime preseason." Not the game, but practice facility, right? So it's actually in San Antonio when they're at the Alamo Dome,
right? And
this is their pre-party. That's what it was. It was a pre-party. And so once you get these bracelets, you go to the event. It's a big event. Miller Time throws it, and they throw a big. I mean, it's probably one of the hands down the best put together party I've ever been to, and it was Miller Lite. And anyways, so you go there, they give you all these free beers, they got some hors d'oeuvres, and you get to meet one Dallas Cowboy, and one Dallas Cowboy there was Chad Hennings, and he was part of the Wounded Warrior. I was there, and they're like, come to the meet and greet, and I was like, cool, and I was like, is this all free, But the backstory is on that was my uncle was like, hey, go ahead and come to this, it starts next week, and I was like, dude, I gotta work. And they're like, no, man, like this is like a once in a lifetime deal. Like I hardly get these bracelets, whatever. And so I was like, you know what? Count me in. I'll be there. I go to work the next day. And I'm like, fuck, man, what am I gonna do? The Dallas Cowboys to me are a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, dude, I made up this long line. Okay, got that, Xeroxed it, sent it to my manager the next day, and everything was golden. And ever since then, dude, pants off, balls to the wall, bro.
Yeah,
I partied it up, and I got once again. I go to the Miller Time deal, but it's just the extent that I had to go to get that day off. You know what I mean? But I just laugh about that to this day. But I met Chad Hennings, and Chad Hennings is a super nice guy. Yeah. But did you know he was in the Air Force?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, yeah, and that's how come he was part of the Wounded Warrior Project. So my uncle, my fucking uncle could run for mayor. Like he knows, he's kind of like me. I mean, he doesn't know a stranger. And somehow Chad Hennings walks by him, and he's a big Dallas Cowboy fan too. And he's like, "Oh my God, Chad, how's it going, man?" And shaking his hand, and I'm like right behind my uncle, and I'm like, "That's not fucking Chad Hennings," because this guy was slim. You know what I mean? Slim as can be. And he's like, yeah, I'm Chad Hennings. I was like, holy crap. Like, I remember you when I was playing number 95, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you go into those type of situations, you turn into like a giddy little girl. And so there was me, I'm all being giddy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm being Dallas Cowboy, right? we go when he goes actually to the meet and greet. I'm standing in line, and he's like, "Hey, do you want me to sign anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, I bought this picture, blah blah blah." He signs it, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to take a picture with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, duh, stupid, I'm in." You know, so I'm there sitting with him. He's like, "Here, hold my Super Bowl ring, man. You want me to wear your Super Bowl ring?" He's like, "Yeah, man." Like, but he was taking it off for everybody. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't even care. And to me, dude, I remember my pants getting wet. You know, I was like, girl. I was
Shit,
just
you're
like,
making
oh
me wet
my
over
God.
here now. Yeah, damn.
Yeah, dude. So I get it, and I like put my, like the finger that I got, is all like fucking like 2 times. And dude, that thing was, I just held it like this because if I put it on, it looked like a fucking, like I
Bracelet.
looked like a toothpick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there I am. I'm all cheesy, I'm all like, yes, and I'm all like that. And he was all like, all right, man. And I swear to God, I could like walked off with it. Like he was not worried about it at all. So I remember I'd taken a couple steps and I was like, oh shoot, here's the ring back. He's like, oh man, cool, thanks. And the next person came
Yeah.
up and then he was like, hey, do you wanna? And it was just kind of super nice guy, man. We got to meet him afterwards. And same thing, man. Once the music started and everything was like real chillax, he had a couple of beers and he met up with my uncle again. And like I said, once again, my uncle doesn't know. He knows everybody. It seems
Right.
like at this point. Once we start to meet up with them, he introduces us to the Wounded Warriors, man. Then some of these guys have like just traumatic stories, but
Yeah.
thank goodness for that, for the foundation.
Yeah.
And they got all this help, so man, good for them, man. And
Oh, yeah.
props to Chad Hennings and all them guys. And that's just kind of one of the things that my podcast that I love is just because I'm discovering people that you would have never fucking known that
Right.
come from this.
I love doing this stuff. Like, that's why I was
Yeah.
glad you were so excited. Whenever I asked you to come on, it's like, fuck yeah. This guy's just as hyped as I am. To do
Yeah.
something like this.
So you having this YouTube platform, like how's it changed for you? Like do you enjoy it? As the episodes go on.
Yeah. One thing. It's more of like gaining confidence as well. Talking to people. And I really am enjoying the guest aspect of it. Having you guys on, and then having the questions like you've asked about the Cowboys or this and that. It's great to be able to answer specific questions instead of really things that are, kind of not necessarily vague, but, kind of broad as far as like, what's going on. So yeah, the YouTube thing, it's been a lot of fun, being able to put it on video instead of, because if it was just a podcast, it's just audio. You can't see what I'm pointing at. You're just basically taking my word for this or that. I've been enjoying the fact that people can see what I'm talking about.
And that's kind of one of my deals that I was kind of like, whenever we get into that YouTube aspect, and it's kind of really hard because you're like wanting to, then you got to edit 2 different parts because we got a podcast that's just audio, and now we got to do editing. And now I always kind of, Daniel, man, Daniel and Victor, man, they do such a good job on everything.
Yeah.
That I just feel that's not none of my expertise, I'm like, man, so whenever they go into editing and stuff like that, I'm just all like, son of a gun, dude. I feel so bad for them because like once we get into the YouTube aspect, I'm like, man, it's just balls to the wall after that. You know what I mean?
Once you really sit down and look at it, it looks like a bunch of stuff. Like like when you look at the screen, it's all there.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jesus,
Exactly.
What does that button do? What does that button do? Oh shit, now I fucked it up. And then you got to worry about, your frames per second. You got to, worry about it. Does the audio match the video? It's just, Now I got a lot of a newfound respect for the guys who do this stuff for a living, And there was a Netflix special. There's a comedian named Andrew Schultz, and he shot a Netflix special. And he told me his guy that works with him, like he's got a group of guys that he's, been with forever. The software that I used, that guy learned it in like 8 days and was able to put this video together. And I was like, Jesus, man, I'm still working on it for 4 or 5 months in, but this guy learned it in 8 days. And I'm sure that's all he did from the time he woke up to the time he went to sleep. But still at the same time, it's super impressive to watch. I can't wait for y'all guys to get into the to the YouTube aspect of it.
Well, it's a very like kind of dark line because we haven't been there before.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so now we're like, okay, so now we are planning on to doing some stuff with YouTube and whatnot, but it's just so difficult because we're so used to the audio part of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I almost feel bad because Daniel, he stays up like countless hours and he doesn't get paid for it.
Right.
And so the magic that goes behind all that stuff is all him and Victor. I'm like, man, I get like so impressed every time I see these episodes come out. They make us sound good.
And
They
y'all
make us
y'all sound great, man. Like everything's
Yeah.
on point, from like being able to hear y'all to the nice background music that's there and everything
Yeah.
like that. And then like y'all's little clips that y'all put on Facebook, like
Yeah.
yeah, that's some really cool stuff that they're able to do.
Well, see, that just comes in to show like it's just all about growth because we didn't do that the very first 4 episodes, 5 episodes, and we started noticing too, like whenever I was doing all this research, I was like, Joe Rogan, I mean, he's known for his 10-minute clips.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But that's like, I don't want to say that it's clickbait, and I don't want to say that to a point it's like a bad thing, but it kind of entices you of like, oh shit, they're getting into something deep.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it just shuts off, and then you're like, God dang it, now I got to go listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it just became a learning aspect. Whenever we started doing the videos, we know that we don't have a YouTube video, but I was all like, man, maybe we should just do a little 10-second clip of our guests. You know what I mean? The guys have been like real open-minded about everything and willing to do whatever it takes and stuff like that. But we got a lot of interesting things coming out in 2021. I'm pretty excited about maybe some collabs. I talked about it, maybe even having a segment with you, maybe branching off because we want to do content, and that's
Right.
what I think right now YouTube and podcasts is going to be kind of where it's at.
Especially right now with COVID going on. I was listening to Andrew Schultz because he's been a guest a few times on Joe Rogan. Is that being a comedian like these two guys are, and then going from COVID where they're not allowed to go into stadiums and arenas and theaters.
Right.
Guy Andrew Schultz has kind of gotten hotter. He's doing a lot of like the Netflix stuff. Once you make it to Netflix, your status is up there. It's one of those things.
Exactly.
Podcast and YouTube has been a great platform because who's to say that if COVID never really happened, would this podcast be going, or would my YouTube channel be going, or the day and age we live in right now is like, what I want to talk about the Cowboys. I want to break down their film, so I'm gonna start with that, and then now I'm gonna start talking to guests on my channel, and then getting into other things like other sports, or then life stories and things like that. So that's one thing I'm super excited about, is just kind of growing, going from y'all who didn't have a little YouTube or a little clip on Facebook to now where it looks great. I want to click on that shit. It's nice to see that growth right there.
One thing I'm gonna tell you is, man, don't be afraid to, if it's like someone that you feel like it's out of your pay grade or out of your, I don't know, whatever, the person that you really want to talk to, don't be afraid to send them out a message. There's a lot of people that are coming on that are starting to hear about us little by little that I would have never thought that, we might have them on the show. Guess what? It just starts off with just that one person. If I could get like SEMO was a big deal for me. Having
Great episode, by the way.
Yeah, for whatever reason, man, like that made me feel kind of invincible because I feel like now I'm part, and Daniel and Victor kind of gave me a little free reign about who to bring in and stuff like that. And so I've been really taking it to heart, but I'm not afraid to ask anybody to come on the show.
Yeah, because the worst thing they can tell you is no, and then you're
right,
back to
or
where
not
you started.
or not to answer a reply. You know what I mean? So go on Instagram and you know what? If you want to talk to Darren Woodson, go out there and fucking instant message him, and he might not, but you know what? Guess what about if he does? Guess how much that does for your ratings? Like people that don't know about you but know Darren Woodson, or
or follow him on Instagram, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? And Simo, man, has been like a blessing for us too, in a way, because of whenever we had him on, I mean, he's just a local DJ, you know what I mean? He's been doing this for a long time, but guess what? Whenever he knew his episodes were coming out, what was he doing on 106 MDX?
Right.
Hey, man, listen to the Back of the House podcast, you know, come and check them out and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to say our numbers went up, you know, drastically, but, you know, we got some new listeners that never even heard of us, you know, just from good old San Angelo. So that'd be my deal to you would be, man, just don't be afraid. And if you want to test something out, just do it, because everything.
That's one thing that I know during the T Fields episode, because he was talking about his podcast, the No Fucks Given. That's a shout out to him. You know, if guys that are watching this, you know, go check out No Fucks Given. That's fucks with a FUX. Is that right? So one thing y'all told him, because during that episode y'all were talking about how, you know, he was talking about doing it, and then y'all were telling him like, just do it. You know, a lot of people always talk about doing it. It's just like, you gotta get in there and finally do it, and then you'll realize that, hey, you know, this is cool. I like doing this stuff. Like, oh shit, man, I can't believe I was thinking about not doing this, you know, a few weeks ago, you know. So that was one thing I took from y'all's episodes with him was, so yeah, you know, you're right. You fucking just, because there's times where I don't feel like doing a video right now. I don't want to, you know, break down. Like, I'm already pissed off that the Cowboys, you know, sucked over the same shit. But hey, you know, maybe I'll pick out the positives. They went good this week.
Yeah. That, I mean, like, shit, man. You know how many people love to talk, hate about the Cowboys?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you had a bad time watching the game, let's just say that 100,000 other people did not have the same kind of experience you did. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of funny, man. You're kind of like in a unique, and I find that's what I find about your show right now is kind of like you're in a unique area where your niche as I'm starting to find out that that's like a thing. You know, your niche, your audience is anybody. You know what I mean? And it could be the love and the hate for the Cowboys, you know. You can have an episode where you're like, shit, fuck the Cowboys, you know, but guess how many diehard Cowboy fans are thinking the same fucking exact thing you are, you know. That's kind of what I picked up whenever I started watching, especially the last episode with Cody, right? That's his name, Cody?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you brought in a guest? Like, that already is a growth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is already different from what you've already done in the past.
Yeah.
But that right there has already kind of put you, like, that's, now you got to think of, okay, so now who am I going to bring in, or now what's my content going to be? So now I think you kind of fucked yourself.
No, like I wanted to go with, like, my original thought process of this was also like, I want to bring in like other topics. Like I said, not just with sports. We want to do movies or music. And then my oldest daughter, my stepdaughter, she wants to do one like with serial killers. You know, she finds that fascinating. And I was like, yeah, that'd be something really cool that we could sit down. And we did some stuff in the past, kind of got some things together. But here soon, I want to be able to bring her on and we'll talk. And I'll be able to, now that I'm really more comfortable now with this, with editing and stuff like this, that it doesn't look like a shit show going into, you know. Now I got some practice. I got a little bit of hours behind, you know, the screen and everything like that. So, you know, one of the bringing on guests is something that I think that could elevate my videos a little bit, you know, bring a different aspect or a different point of view, because I'm not just going to have Cowboys fans on here. That's why I did a Raiders video, you know, because Zadrian's a big Raiders fan, and he and his brother were like, hey, you know, can you do one on the Raiders? It's like, yeah. I did want to apologize to any Raiders fans or anything like that, because I don't watch them like I do to the Cowboys, but I can sit there and I can pick apart a game. I don't know 100% like their scheme on offense or defense. I'm going off of what I see, you know. So as opposed to the Cowboys, I know their scheme. I know their, you know, what they're running. I know their personnel. I know shit ton more than I do about, you know, the Raiders or somebody like that. But going into this upcoming season, I will set some time designated to other teams, because at the moment it was just 100% Cowboys. and I was all in on that. Not to say that I won't be all in this year. It just now I'm gonna also set a few hours aside or make time, to talk about the Raiders.
Yeah.
So that's something that
Great idea.
I can't do all at once. I didn't plan on doing it all at once, but
Right, and I don't know if you caught like the chat roulette show that
yeah,
we
I did. Yeah.
Like that right there just kind of shows that like there's just so much out there. There's just so much stuff that you can do, and thank goodness for like the platforms like YouTube's and for us BeanPod or Podbean. I'm sorry. That I mean we can put this content out, and you're your own creator. You can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? So. Man, that is such an awesome job. I think what you're doing here is phenomenal. I love the show. I said it kind of gives me a little bit more insight, and I look at the game a little differently now. Like I said, since this past month, because fantasy football for me was like already, it took me up a notch, but I really wasn't paying attention to scheme. I was just like, players that I didn't even fucking know, but I want them on my team because of these points and whatnot. Yeah. But this just kind of heightened it up a little bit. And whenever I started seeing the show, I was like, man, Chris is all over it. Like, he's right, I don't know if you know this too, but there's a Steelers Nation here in San Angelo. And they meet up at fucking Shenanigans. Shout out to Shenanigans. There's Shenanigans there, man. They all meet there, dude. It's every Sunday, and there's like fucking a shitload of people. You're like, oh my God, I didn't know Steelers fan existed in San Angelo.
Well, one thing I will say about that, because I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings for a while, and
true.
Being in a military-based city like we are, or there in San Angelo with Goodfellow there, and all these guys that are Broncos fans, Colts fans, we saw the whole thing. But there is a lot of Texas-born people or San Angelo-born people that are Steelers fans. They are Raider fans.
All that.
So Steelers fans, I've heard of the Steeler Nation down there in San Angelo.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I'm like,
fuck them too. God. They lost.
Yeah, that's what y'all get. No. That's what you're all getting though. I'm just joking. I love those guys. They're fun, and it's kind of funny because you kind of go into San Angelo and West Texas. I mean, we even did an episode on Friday Night Lights. And, to an extent, San Angelo does, where Central plays. Like, even in Sonora, like, for you guys, I mean, that's a pure, hardcore Sonora El Dorado play. That city shut down. Like, nobody goes anywhere but the football game. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're 100% right on that because, talking about Friday Night Lights, but everybody, all the other states think is right whenever you talk about, especially West Texas, Odessa, San Angelo, Sonora, Midland and all them. And that's, I was fortunate enough to go to Sonora, meaning we won, whenever my first year of varsity football, we were only 5 years removed from a state championship, because they won in 2000. They won state when I was in 7th grade. So that was my first year of middle school football. So we were kind of already expected to win. Like, that was in our thought process.
You're DNA now.
Like state or a bust, Now there's some other schools around the area, like I know, like El Dorado or like Big Lake and Junction, who I know they've had their years where they were really good, but they've never really experienced the success. Mason's now a really good powerhouse football team, and good for them because I know a couple of their coaches because I played against them in school, things like that. And San Angelo, my dad and all my uncles, they played, for Central. So they're the ones that played, like Booby Miles and Mike Rocha over there at Odessa Permian. And it's high school football. This is it's religion down here, and that's how we treat it. And you're right. We go play over there, and somebody can come rob the whole town blind because nobody's home. Everybody's at the football game. And that was one of that small school for me. That was kind of because everybody's tight knit. We're winning all the time. Now we never won state. I never won state personally, but it was kind of like it was fun to be like it's expected. It's the DNA, like you're expected to win, and that right there for me, it's cool. I didn't come from a team that didn't win a football game all year. That's one thing that I was glad I was able to experience.
Real quick story about your dad and your uncles, because I mean they're my god brothers.
Right.
Man, your dad and Eddie and Albert, man,
Right.
like I used to look up to them, you know.
Right.
And so there was this one time where your dad and I mean they're at one time all three of them were on the same team, if my memory serves me correct,
My
or
my
two of them were.
two of them were, because my dad and his older brother, I believe,
Yeah,
were only a year apart. They
Albert.
played together.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it
uh-huh.
was
And they
Albert.
were both on the varsity team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they called him at the time. You remember the Blues Brothers?
uh-huh.
You know, they used to call him the Bruise Brothers. You know,
Yeah,
'cause they were out there, you know, running around, you know, hitting people left and right.
yeah,
So it was
crazy.
Albert and my dad, and then Eddie. Eddie played
Kind
with
of cool.
my mom's brother Lee. Those two were together.
Yeah, well, I remember growing up, and I was probably like, man, probably about like 7, 8 years old, and they had a senior night, and obviously, you know, we're a close, tight knit family and
Right.
whatnot, and we went up there to go see them, and they practiced, and after the practice, we got to get on the field, right? I remember your dad getting his shoulder pads, and he was like, "Here, hold them for me," you know. But he didn't make me hold them. He threw them on me, like, you know, like I wore his jersey and his pads. Dude, I'll never forget that day. I was on like, oh my God. He's like, you know, he was almost like, you know, it was like a ray of light hit me. I was like, yes, like I'm a Bobcat, you know.
Yeah.
It was always super funny. My mom took pictures of me and my sister, you know, with the football helmets, the shoulder pads and the jersey on. Super cool, but I'll never forget that. And your dad and the brothers, man, or my god brothers, I mean, shoot, they're always a good time. There's never a dull moment with all three of them. So I can only imagine them two on the football field at one time. Could you? You know what I mean?
It's funny, you know, that my dad tells me stories about when they played, and you know, Albert, he was a running back. He had a 98-yard run, but didn't score.
Really?
Yeah, he they had the ball at the one, ran it all. It got caught at the one. And that's one of the things I always give him shit about it, man. It's like, it's hilarious. Of course, they called timeout, let him breathe, and then they gave it and punched it in after that.
But the funny thing is that you know, you talk about Eddie and your dad, and they tell you stories, you know what I mean? But the crazy thing is that whenever I was younger, or you know, still like, hey, I still name drop. Those are still my cousins and blah, blah, blah. And they back it up. You know, they're like, oh, yeah, blah, blah. So they don't tell you nothing that's like far-fetched. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, whenever Robert, your dad had told me a story or two, and I'm like, whatever, dude, whatever. You know?
I used to do that to him all the time. Bullshit. You know? Bullshit.
Yeah, like, but you know, they're pretty incredible plays. It never fails. It was always like 2 to 3 weeks down the line, I'd run into somebody, and they're like, oh yeah, I played football for Central, and you're like, hey, do you know Robert or Albert Pettit? Oh yeah, man, I love those guys, blah blah. And they're like, did this actually happen? They're like, yeah, is that? And you're like, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Bro, afterwards, you're like, all right, you're right, you know?
Yeah. That's why I like, you know, going out to the lake for Memorial Weekend. You know, that's one of my
favorite times too.
That's a lot of fun, especially, you know, whenever everybody's able to get out there, you know, because, you know, with Albert being in the oil field, he wasn't always there all the time, you know. That was, you know, when he was on his hitch out there or whatever. When he would come down, I know one time we played washers for $20, and I was, I don't know, 16, 17 years old or so. $20 we played washers, and I beat him. Boy, he was pissed. He said, let's do it again. I ended up taking it for like $60 at that time, you know. Kept going. Let's do it. And his wife Esther was just like, that competitiveness in him. It's like, you know, make him go broke. And it's like, I don't think he let me win, but it was.
Yeah. And who cares? You won. You won, bro. You won.
Yeah. With Eddie, you know, with how he is, he's just a great time all the time. You know, just laughing.
Yeah.
And the boy can cook. God damn, the man can cook some food.
Yeah, it is. But it's so fun, dude. Like, it's always so funny. Like, whenever Memorial Days are kind of one of those times I'm like, I need to find a way to be off the day after Memorial. Like, I don't care. I could work till 8 o'clock that day, on the day that we all meet up, you know, but it's just trying to find that time after, after the day is over. those nights are so fucking long, dude.
Yeah, we go pretty hard on those nights, man. Like,
yeah.
and old James.
Oh boy.
Man.
Oh boy, that's another story.
Hearing
That guy could fuck up a wet dream, bro. Goddamn. Like I remember him being so little, and man, you too. And I kind of blame his harsh, you know, like I don't want to say harsh because me and Noel kind of have that edge, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of feel like we helped bring him up a little bit. How he kind of turned into like one of us, you know, very sarcastic, very dry, and stuff like that. So, dude, it is super fun, and it's always been that way. You know, I look forward to that day to come that you and Carmen and your stepdaughters and everybody could come out, because we come from an older family. And Belinda and Aldo have been a very, very shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they've been a very, very important part of keeping that tradition, meeting up alive, you know. And they don't have to do it, and they spend so much money to come out here to do it. It sickens me, you know. I'm all like, man, just stop. Don't come, you know. If they don't come, then we don't have that good time, you know what I mean? So,
do you remember when Aldo showed up with that ankle monitor on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he got that BWI in his fucking driveway. He couldn't drink nothing, but he was sitting out there in the lake with his goddamn ankle monitor on.
Yeah, dude. But, we're all out there, and it got late, and me and Noel, and it was kind of the younger crowd out there amongst the cousins, and we were out there hanging out. Noel, he was up, I was up, and it was like probably and Calvary was there, some of his buddies. And it was like probably like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're still drinking and still going hard at it. We see Aldo come up, and he's like, hey, you guys still awake? And we're like, you know, whatever. We're like, he drinks a couple more beers, man. He goes back. We forget about him. I mean, we're just kind of like, all right, cool. You know, he leaves and goes back and lays down. And when we wake up in the morning, dude, his ass is halfway outside the tent. Like, his balls are showing, like, in between his legs, you know? Like, he's literally, like, his asshole is, like, out in the air to everybody to see. Dude, one of the top 10 moments of
my God, I can't believe I missed that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but he was just out, like, I don't know, I don't even remember how he got naked. It was just kind of funny. Like, his ass is just, like, half of his body was inside the tent, half of the body was out. But Belinda lets him get away with murder, man, and I commend him for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, they're always a great time, man. I know there's a few times we went up to Austin and we stayed with them. Seeing like AJ, who looks like fucking Rick Ross. Delisa, you know.
He's almost picking up part of where his dad's gonna leave off.
Yeah,
you know?
no shit.
Yeah, dude, that's hilarious.
I was gonna move on to talking about Noel.
Oh no, man, Noel, man, he's a different beast. He's like the Patrick Mahomes of our family. Like, he has his own different entity. Like, he's his own different beast, and I must say, man, like, I am too, and it's kind of like a weird deal. Like, our dynamic is really weird. Like, he's real asshole, dry, and I'm real sarcastic. Like, I could look at you straight face, but I like the shock factor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, whenever we get together, oh my God, I'm like praying to Jesus that there's enough beer. But Noel, man, obviously he's my brother, but he's a character, and I love it. I love it.
One time I ran into him and his wife at, I think it was like Fat Boss or something like that. You know, I'm saying hi to his wife, but Noel's still shaking hands with this guy, that guy, this person. Yeah. And Sasha's like, he's the fucking mayor. You know, he's got to shake hands to everybody, you know. Yeah. The very first time I actually hung out with him, Jessica Valero's quinceañera, 17 years ago, whatever it was. And Noel's there, and I wasn't sure. I'm pretty sure he was in it. Yeah, and just sitting there just talking bullshit. And I was like, this fucking guy, man. I know we're related, but goddamn. You know, just the jokes that he would go on, you know. And then, you know, over the years, I was working for Budweiser. He's working for, you know, Miller Coors, going back and forth. You know, man, fuck Bud, fuck Bud. You know, and one of y'all, whenever he was on, he was talking about, you know, whenever y'all were asking about glaciers and everything, and the whole time I'm listening, I was like, man, fuck that guy. He's over there talking about Miller Coors and everything, and all this. Yeah, Bud Light's still the #1 beer in the world.
Hey. I mean, that ultra though, you know, that ultra.
It's not gonna pass. I'm drinking it right now, but that's only because That's when me and my wife drink. So and it's funny because we go back and forth every time we see each other, because you know what I do for a living, we serve all the beer and alcohol at the rodeo. Glaciers, where you know they sponsor that, you know, Coors
Right.
And Coors Light sponsor that. So every time I see him out there,
Yeah.
hoping, you know, he doesn't do much. He just
Yeah.
sits there and talks to me while his minions, you know, unload all the beer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we just go back and forth. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
man. We talk, we catch up for a little bit, and then they're like, "Hey, come over here and help." It's nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm talking to him.
It's about time.
So
Yeah.
it's fun, man. I enjoy. Noel is one of my favorite humans on earth. I can't say enough good things about him, you know. And
Yeah.
I know he's well liked
True.
too, because talking to other people, like he'll come up or I'll come up and we'll say hi and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh man, you know him?" He's like, "Yeah, man, he's my cousin." He's like, "Oh shit, man, like, I love that guy." There was a story that y'all were talking about that house on Hill Street. And you know, and I've been to a couple of parties here and there. One thing that I remember was I was with my group of friends, and Noel invited me. He goes, "Hey man, come over." So, "Oh, where's it at?" And he goes, "Oh, it's on this street. We'll be there in a little bit." And we pulled up with like 2 cars because there was like 8 of us. We pull up, and y'all already had the party going and everything like that. But the way we pulled up and we all got out, Noel, it looked like a goddamn witch hunt. He had a bat and he had a whole bunch of group of friends behind him, because I go, "Hey, who's showing up over here?" And I was like, hey, it's just me." And he goes, "Oh man, motherfucker, goddamn, I see these trucks pull up and all these people get out." It's like, I thought y'all were coming to start some shit over here. Man, it's just me and my friends. It's, "Oh man, y'all come in, let's drink some beer." But that's one thing. That's all I could think about when y'all were telling stories about that house.
It's one of those times, man, that it's kind of nostalgic now. Everybody refers to the house as the old house, you know.
Right.
So everyone, you can bring up the old house amongst our friends, and everyone's gonna know exactly where you're at. It's been a fun, entertaining thing, but me being as old as I am, you know, I was part of the problem. So there was a lot of people here, but I was the oldest amongst the group, and I'd be buying them their beer and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it kind of got crazy, you know. If Facebook was alive back then,
man,
holy
yeah,
it'd have been like a disaster here.
Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't. But the same thing with me and Noel, even being his brother, like I'm so low key, but still kind of out there. He knows us, not together, but everybody knows our own individual. A lot of people, I know a lot of people. He knows a lot of people. We know a lot of the same people. No one puts us together. So whenever I'm like, "Dude, that's my brother," they're like, "What the fuck? Like, how did y'all do it?" Or whatever the case might be. You know what I mean? I get scared whenever we're together. You know what I mean? I'm like, "Oh man, it's gonna be a long night."
What's
Very
what's the age difference between you two?
It's 7 or 6 years.
Yeah, because he's my age group, or then, because I'm 32, so I'll be 33 this year. Me and him were right there.
Yeah, so we're about six years apart. But man, I don't know how we do it. We probably butted heads once or twice. For the most part, like, it's just, if you've ever, I don't know, a bonfire and Noel, you add Noel to it, he's like the gasoline, man.
Yeah.
Don't let him get close to that fire because it's going to blow shit up. And then vice versa. Like, if I go to one of his parties and I get there, I kind of, I don't know, like this whole vibe comes out where I'm all like,
he'll get you loose. You know, he'll get you loose in more ways than one, but he'll get you loose. Like he
does it. It's super funny though, super funny. But yeah, I love that man with all my heart, dude. If you ever need anything, you know, and vice versa, you know, for him with everybody, you know, if you know him, you know he'll give you the shirt off his back.
He's one of the best people, you know, that I've ever met. You know, lucky to call him family, because like it's fun because we have the opportunity, you know, whenever we all hang out and we all do this. Hey man, that guy's blood. That guy's fucking great, you know. So good old Noel, man. Like he's a monster in itself. So
you definitely need to have him on the show. I mean, he's definitely a firecracker. Have him on my podcast was special because we have a special bond, and I felt like a lot of people felt it, you know, felt the bond and knew the direction and whatnot. But y'all two, man, y'all guys would light it up.
Because I sat down, it's like, who do I want to get on my show here? Like it's Cody was my day one, you know, like we're only 5 months apart, you know, in age.
Yeah.
And we both grew up together in Sonora, you know, we're cousins, we're basically brothers, you know. So Cody's first one in my head. And I thought of you because, like, just because I listen to y'all all the time. I gotta have Eric. I can't have Eric without having Noel, so I gotta have Noel at some time. It's fun. Like I find it, the software and everything. I'm like, okay, well, I gotta do this, we gotta do that. That looks cool. That'll work. I gotta edit that out, or I gotta put this in. Maybe whenever I'm starting to build the brand here, it's just kind of like more motivation to put this out. Because I can't wait for people to see this conversation. Just not only see, because a lot of Cody and I, we have a lot of the same friends. We don't, like myself and you, like we don't have we do, but we don't. You have a different market, so that's why I kind of want to reach out to you, and then some of the other guys that I have, in my head that I want to do is just attack different markets. That's why I was super excited to have you on and continue to talk. We've covered a lot. You know what I mean? We covered some football, really some family. Because I don't have. This isn't some big time network that I gotta all right, we gotta go to commercial break. Sorry. So that's why I like the different tangents we go on. We talk about this, and it's like, oh wait, we were talking about this to begin with. That's one thing that I do appreciate about your show, is that there's no hesitation with that. Your guys talk about this and y'all have fun with it. Y'all are talking, and I love those stories. I like those stories because, like I said, I didn't know y'all knew T Fields the way y'all did. Ed Fawcett, I know you knew your brother, but other than that, and then Gabriel Lucky, I know him. I know him because I've met him a few times in the gym, and then every time we see each other, we dap up like, hey, what's up, man? Are you good? Yeah, all right, man. Have a good workout. Just a small world. So that's why, I love listening to you guys. You guys bring that.
Yeah, man. Like this has actually kind of helped me tap into a different side of myself, like actually getting out of my comfort zone, getting out of my box, because I don't know Gabriel Lucky. And man, Gabriel did such a. I mean, he opened up, but he doesn't know us from fucking anybody, you know what I mean? But that's the magic where this comes into play, that everybody has a fucking story. He goes off and it turns into this beautiful, beautiful episode, where you're just like, I man, that's amazing, man. Like, how did you get through this, and knowing people on an intimate level. And that's kind of right where I am with this podcast and getting to know you right here, because I mean, I think this is the longest we've ever talked, to be honest. I don't think we've talked as much, but to know this much about you now is, and now it's like, now I put this in my memory box, man. I could say, hey, Chris, we fucking talked for like 2 hours. You know what I mean?
The most interesting about that Gabriel episode was, like I said, I knew who he was. I've met him a couple times. It changed my perspective on him, meaning that I didn't know the guy, so I didn't judge anything off of him. So I knew him. And he opened up about his art and his life and how he got his name, and then how he knew some people and all this. And I was like, wow, like I would have never knew that if it wasn't for the podcast, and that's a big shout out to him, because he came in willingly, opened up, told his story, and then now like, wow, like I didn't know that about him. And I saw him quite often when I was living in San Angelo and going to the gym all the time. It's like, wow, like I never knew anything about this guy, but now I know a lot about this guy just because of the podcast. That's pretty good shit right there,
man. Like, and that's kind of my goal, really throughout all this, and to believe it or not, like whenever I ask you questions, I mean, you've been opening up, you know what I mean? So I mean, that's the beautiful part about all this. Like, you get to know somebody, and I get to know you on a whole nother level. I mean, who's to say that, in about another week or two, I'm like, you're like, hey, Eric, like, let's go have a beer, or, you know what I mean? Just kind of like, it opens up another gateway. So, I mean, it's been, like I said, even this right here has been fun. And I can't wait for us to hook up and link up again, you know what I mean, in the future.
Because one thing I wanted to do, whenever equipment's available or time is available for both of us, kind of do a mashup between our show and your show, back of the house, set up a camera, and then we can do a YouTube and a podcast at the same time. And then just kind of, open up to the people out there that are listening and that enjoy what we do, because like I said, I'm a big fan of y'all's. My number one podcast that I'm looking forward to, I think every Monday that
I definitely appreciate that.
Every Monday, back of the house.
And every Monday we come out.
And so I was like, fuck yeah. Where can you find it? You can find your podcast on
We're on all major platforms. We're on Amazon, Spotify, iTunes. We just got put on iHeartRadio,
right on.
which is was a big deal for us. But yeah, you can find us on TBOH325. That's our Snap, Instagram. It's not hard to find us.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find us at all. But just type in TBOH325 and you should be able to find us anywhere.
It's been a lot of fun, man. We covered a lot of stuff. I can't wait for the next time for you guys to come on. I can't wait to be on your show. We enjoy doing this.
Definitely love what you're doing. And just keep up the good work and keep on doing what you're doing because I'm loving it. And it only just takes that one person, you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
So it could be me, it could be your next guest, it could be someone else. It takes that one person to like it, follow, share, and it just kind of grows from there. That's all I got to say, man, is just keep up the good work. If you want to have like a mashup or a segment, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Right. Back of the House podcast, guys. You guys go download, listen, follow, subscribe. Well, Mr. Eric, I
Yeah.
think we should call it a night here. For
right,
everybody listening out there, thanks for watching the CP5 project. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir, man. Have a good night.
You too, brother.